Initially, when Nintendo announced that they were going to be doing Switch 2 editions of games, I was extremely excited because the performance of the original Switch was not the best, particularly for me, the Zelda titles, right? Like, the 3D and the 2D, technically. Link's Awakening, Echoes of Wisdom. Echoes of Wisdom was rough. But then also, technically, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Neither of them really ran great. So initially, when they said, hey, we're going to be doing Switch 2 editions of some Nintendo Switch 1 titles, I was very excited. I was like, sweet, we're going to get updated versions of these. It's going to go great. However, the longer I've thought about this, the more concerned I've gotten. And this isn't like a clickbaity kind of concern. This is like a, oh no. Like, I think when you think about, hey, we're going to get updated like frame rate fixing or graphical updates or, whatever. If we're relying on Nintendo's like self-awareness to give us the titles we think we should be getting and how we should be getting them, I think we're going to be a little disappointed. And basically what I wanted to talk about here was, number one, what I think we should be getting, but then also 5 titles that I think Nintendo will inevitably give us as Switch 2 versions. So what I think we need is Nintendo to go back and to give us new and enhanced editions of a lot of the sports titles, especially, in my opinion, Mario Strikers. Like the I don't even remember the subtitle for that. Was it Mario Strikers Battle League? I think is what it was. We really could use some love and attention. I would love it if they were to go back in there, give us a nice Switch 2 update, fix it up a little bit. It's honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been forever since I've played that game, but I loved the original on the GameCube, and I was pretty disappointed when I played it on the Switch. So I'd love it if maybe they can go back there and maybe kind of tweak some of the gameplay aspects, make it a little bit more like the original, maybe give us some new levels and some new incentives to go back and play it. Nintendo should be using this opportunity to sort of spice up some of the games where they fell flat this generation. Some of the places where they had high ambition, they had high hopes to achieve something, and it just didn't pan out. It just wasn't quite a finished idea. With the Switch 2, here's a great opportunity to finish that idea. Not only that, but for all of us that bought games like Mario Strikers Battle League, you could say, hey, give us $10 more, and we're going to basically give you a whole new game almost, like a really brand new experience. To me, that is what Nintendo should be doing with these Switch 2 updates, on top of the obvious things that they're already doing, like updating the last 2 Pokemon games, fixing Link's Awakening, Echoes of Wisdom, but then also giving us paid options, like with Metroid Prime 4 and Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, all of those kind of things. So you've got your free tier, and then you've got your paid tier. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about the paid tier, and I'll start to get into some of my... Here, I will give you here 5 predictions of what 5 games I think we're going to be receiving eventually. Like, in a Nintendo Direct, they'll be like, announcing this classic Switch game coming to you in a new Nintendo Switch edition. And they're going to say, we're releasing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Nintendo Switch 2 edition. And it's like, oh, you're great. And they're going to be like, we've updated it to now run at, 120 frames on handheld mode, and we're going to just beef it up and give you that. No new fighters, no new stages. We're just going to enhance some of the gameplay. Probably we'll add the little camera support so you can put your face will go, instead of like the Mario character at the bottom of the screen, it'll be like your face or something like that. Because it already has like your little, your like your fighter name. Like you type in your little name and it's already got that on there. So instead of having Mario's face or Donkey Kong's face or whatever character you've selected, it'll have your face. That would be what I think they're gonna do. And they'll be like, that's $10. And people are gonna go, yeah, okay, that's okay. Smash Brothers is already pretty perfect. The 120 frames is nice. I guess I'll buy it. That'll sort of be the sentiment. Rather than totally giving us a brand new experience with an old game, they're just gonna make these minor tweaks to games that are already pretty good. Another example of what I think they're gonna do, and this is gonna break my heart. I thought about this the other day. They're going to come at you and they're going to say, attention, Animal Crossing fans. We are giving you Animal Crossing New Horizons, the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. And it's going to have, it's going to run better. It's going to look better. Maybe we'll add some HD texture packs or something like that. It'll kind of fix this up a little bit. But it's just going to be kind of more of the same. Nothing super drastic. That's going to be really heartbreaking. That's going to be really, really heartbreaking. But then they'll be like, oh, here's Splatoon 4. And it's like, no. We wanted a dedicated Animal Crossing game for the Switch 2. Why didn't we get that? And the response is just going to be, well, we wanted to do Splatoon 4 for the Switch 2. And the development team that works on both of those titles is the same group. And we had to decide if we're doing Animal Crossing or Splatoon, and we decided to go with Splatoon and just do a Switch 2 edition of Animal Crossing. So I feel like, and I'm going to call it right now, I feel like Greater Nintendo has gone to that development team and said, look, you can either do Splatoon 4 for the Switch 2 or a new Animal Crossing for the Switch 2. You can't do both immediately. So whichever one you want to develop is the one you're going to go with, and the other is going to just get a Switch 2 Enhanced Edition. So if they say we want to make a new Animal Crossing, okay, Splatoon 3 gets a Switch 2 edition. Which honestly, I would love that. That would be fine with me. I enjoyed Splatoon 3, and I think that would definitely benefit from the frame rate enhancement and the new game chat and all that stuff, because they're going to want to push that. But see, that's why they're going to make Splatoon 4 and not a new Animal Crossing, because they want to put they want to do that game chat thing with Splatoon. They want to get Splatoon 4 out there as quickly as possible, right? And then they can put they can use the camera functionality where they put your face next to the camera, and like when you get splatted, maybe there's ink on your face or something, and it's just like, I can just see it now. Since multiplayer is going to dominate this console, Splatoon needs to be at the forefront, and they're going to push that hard and fast. They're going to prioritize Splatoon over Animal Crossing. And as an Animal Crossing lover, that breaks my heart, especially because New Horizons did so well last time. They should give us a new one of those before they give us a new Splatoon. We just got Splatoon 3, a couple years back. Give us our new Animal Crossing and give it to us early in the life cycle. Don't make us wait, towards the second half of the console life again. But anyway, another good example of kind of a bland Nintendo Switch 2 idea would be Nintendo Switch Sports Switch 2 edition. And it's like, guess what? We've added, I don't know, frisbee golf or something to the game. And we've added 3 new sports and camera and game chat functionality and game share functionality, and we've made the frame rate better, and we've just done this kind of bare minimum on a game that already nobody really cares about, but we're going to push because we want to sell game chat, because that seems to be the big thing we're pushing with this console. And most of us are just going to look at it and go, wow, I picked up Nintendo Switch Sports. I played it for maybe, 3 hours, and then I was like done. I was like, okay, I get it. I'm done. It was cute, but no thanks. I could totally see that being one where they're like, hey, you're excited for this, right? And it's like, nope, and I'm calling it now too. There's like, let's think about this. What is the number one game on the Switch that you think that should be fixed? And I know everyone's screaming either Pokemon or Breath of the Wild, but they've already confirmed that they're doing probably both of those. let me think here. I don't know. There's going to be some fan favorite game that everyone's going to rally around. The whole Nintendo community is going to say, we want a Switch 2 edition of this game. And the whole generation, Nintendo's just not going to give it to you. It's going to be another Mother 3 thing, right? Where everybody wants this one game to get a Switch 2 edition or a sequel, and they're just not going to give it to you. It's just going to be stuck being emulated on the Switch 2 from the Switch 1. It's going to have the same horrible frame rate or the same poor performance, and everyone's going to go, oh my God, why is this not a Switch 2 edition yet? Like, what is this? Kind of like how everybody was screaming, why is Wind Waker and Twilight Princess not ported to the Switch 1 yet? Why is that not here yet? The whole generation, we want to know where this is. There's going to be some kind of Switch 2 edition with the Switch 2 that everyone's going to be clamoring for. I don't know what it is yet, but it's going to be a thing like that. Another one that's going to be interesting is they're going to baffle us, right? In a Nintendo Direct, I feel like this is going to be a common meme where it's going to be like, hey, attention. A brand new Switch 2 edition is dropping soon. Take a look at this game. And you're like, oh, which game is it going to be? Which game are they updating? I'm so excited. Like, I've got a big library. I'm really excited. What game are they going to update for us? And they're going to be like, Mario Luigi Brothership plus Bowser Jr., Halloween Shindig or something, or whatever those little additions that they did on the 3DS. They're going to do that now again with the Switch, and everyone's going to go, Brothership? Like, that game, no one cared about that game. Why are they doing that? Why aren't they giving us, something else? Why are they doing that? Like, why don't you give us, 120 frames on Tropical Freeze or, whatever. They're gonna pull a few of those where it's gonna be like, why that game? That no one cares. Like, it was fine, it's done, move on. Like, there's better things to give us. Like, I'm sure another one's gonna be, because we're getting Metroid Prime 4, and it's going to have the mouse functionality, it's going to have the 120 frames, it's going to have the 4K and all that stuff. Everyone's going to love it. And everyone afterwards is going to go, I want to go back to play Metroid Prime Remastered. And everyone's going to go, yeah, the frame rate's just not as good. I love the mouse control. I want to do the mouse control. Hey, Nintendo, can you give us a Switch 2 edition of Metroid Prime Remastered? And then there's just going to be radio silent from Nintendo. And everyone's going to be like, hey, you've already done it for the Metroid Prime 4. Just give us a quick update for Metroid Prime Remastered. And it's going to be silent. No word from Nintendo. And then one day, towards the end of the generation, when nobody cares anymore, they're going to go, oh, by the way, there's mouse support now for this thing. Also, our next console is coming out in 3 months. So pre-order is going to open next week. And it's like, dude, too late. Why did you wait so long? That was just a bonus one with the Metroid Prime Remastered. But anyway, my final prediction, and this is kind of the big one. This is another one where it's like, it's going to make a ton of sense for Nintendo to sell us a Switch 2 edition of this because it sold really well, but I guarantee you've all forgotten about it, right? And that is going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Ring Fit Adventure. Oh yeah, baby. They're going to say, well, it doesn't really work anymore because, all of those accessories were made for the Joy-Con, and we really kind of want to update it for the Switch 2, so we'll just do a Switch 2, rather than doing a sequel, we'll do a Switch 2 edition of that, but we will give you like a whole nother big campaign. It'll be kind of like the Mario Party Jamboree, right? It'll be a really big edition, like a whole nother add-on to it. And they'll say the original game has been optimized for the Switch 2, and it's even going to ship with a new leg strap that'll fit the Switch 2 Joy-Con, and a new ring that'll fit the Switch 2 Joy-Con, and it'll be kind of optimized for the new hardware, so you can play the old stuff, and you can maybe even transfer your old save over. So if you've done a lot of Ring Fit stuff on there, that'll all transfer over just fine. But there's a whole new campaign, and we've put in all this effort, and everyone's like, wow, that's really cool. But it's Ring Fit Adventure. Like, who cares? Like, what's the big deal? Like, why? It's like, there's so many other games we'd rather you give us and work on. I think that's what Nintendo's going to do. They're going to shock us with, what they decide to work on versus what we think that they should be working on. And it's hard for me to envision this all right now. These are just like, kind of guesses I'm pulling out of thin air here. But I think once we get the Switch 2 in our hands, once we've played Mario Kart World to death, once we've got our hands on Donkey Kong Bonanza, once we've got, all of the other updates out of the way, like, we've tried out Breath of the Wild, we've tried Tears of the Kingdom, we've played all those Switch 2 editions, we've done the GameCube thing. Once we've sort of exhausted the Switch 2 post-launch, so I'd say probably around August, right? When we're waiting on more stuff to come out, that's when the community is going to start itching and being like, they should really fix this one. I think they should fix that one. And then people are going to come up with some really great ideas for things that they should fix and how they should fix it. And then Nintendo's going to go, well, too late, man. We're already doing Ring Fit Adventure Switch 2 edition. That's what you're actually going to get this Christmas. You're not going to get, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, Switch 2 edition, fixed all up, great frame rate, blah, 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 blah. We're going to give you something you didn't ask for and something you didn't even think you wanted. And then we're going to show it to you, and you're not going to probably want it. But it'll still sell really well because grandma's going to buy it for you for Christmas. That's where it's going to be disappointing. It's like, oh, Nintendo, you've got this really clever, talented way of selling me what I don't want. And somehow people still buy it. It's like, how did people bought that? I can't believe they bought that. I think it would be, honestly, it would be really cool I just thought of this just now. What if they said, hey, we're going to do a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, but it's going to be like a bundle pack, and it's going to contain every Mario sports title from the Switch 1, like in a bundle. So it's going to have Mario Tennis Aces, Mario Strikers Battle League, Mario Golf, whatever that thing was called. It's going to have all of those sports titles on one cartridge, all optimized for the Switch 2, with a little bit of extra content and blah, 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 blah. And multiplayer, obviously. Like, that would be really cool. Like, if it was like, Mario, it would just be like called like Mario Sports Collection or Mario Switch 2 Sports or Sport Mario Toilet Face. I don't know. They could figure something out. But it would be really cool if they would start bundling some of those ideas together. But obviously Nintendo doesn't want to do that because they're going to say, well, I would really like to sell you Mario Tennis Aces Switch 2 edition for $75. And then also sell you Mario Golf. What is that game called? Mario Golf something. I can't remember. Hold on. I'm going to look it up real quick. Let's see here. Mario Golf Super Rush. Yeah, I would have never got that. It's sad because I have that game and I played it. And they had that little campaign and stuff. It was cute. It was whatever. I played it over the summer when it came out. It was fine. But yeah, it'd be kind of cool if they put all that together, Put all that together in a bundle. Sell it to us again for, $75. But the deal is that everything's already together, right? It's all in one cartridge. It's all in one bundle. That way we don't have to, we don't, because no one's going to rebuy those individually. It's like, no, if those three honestly might just get free updates, kind of like what they're doing with the other ones, like the Link's Awakening and all that jazz. They might just get free updates where it just optimized performance. That's it. But I guess my final thoughts here is I do kind of have a sinking feeling in my gut that regular Switch games are going to, in some way, run worse on the Switch 2. So if it doesn't get a free update, like Link's Awakening, if it doesn't get a paid update, like Breath of the Wild, like a Switch 2 edition, if it does not fall into either one of those categories, I feel like it's going to look kind of crappy on the Switch. And not intentionally, right? Not like, oh, we're going to make these look worse so that you want to buy the upgrade, but it's going to be sort of emulated on the Switch 2. It's not going to run natively, apparently. And then also, you're going to go from playing Mario Kart World or Donkey Kong Bonanza or the Breath of the Wild Switch updated version. You're going to go from playing this brand new 120 frames or like locked 60 frames games to the old Switch version of, like I don't know what, like Pokemon, what is that? Pokemon dungeon crawler game. Oh my goodness, I'm falling apart today. Sorry, I'm kind of tired. Hell. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, that's what it's called. Sorry, I'm losing my mind. I'm becoming an old man. Yeah, they'll be like, oh, you want to play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon? That's going to kind of run and look like crap. And then we're also not going to give you an update for it. And if we do, maybe it's paid. But the free ones are probably going to be the ones they give us at launch, just to kind of smooth it over. And then I feel like the free updates after that are going to be very, very few. I don't even know if they're going to give us any more free updates post-launch, right? They kind of have to give us the free updates for Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom, because if they didn't, that's pretty bad. You kind of sold us technically broken games. So for PR reasons, they got to give us that. But for things like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, where it's like, it wasn't that well received by the fan base, just leave it. Just don't touch it. Leave it on the Switch. It'll run whatever it ran on the Switch, maybe a little bit worse. And it won't look as good because it won't be on an OLED. And then we'll kind of be looking at it like, well, yeah, but I still bought the game. I still would like it to be supported in some way. It maybe just at least say, okay, these games on this list will send an update out to the Switch and it'll just unlock the frame rate. So whatever the Switch can run it at, it'll run it in that. So if it can run that at 60 or 70 or 80 frames or whatever, great, it'll do that. But to say no, it's going to run the exact same way it does on Switch, like it's going to be required to do that. I could totally see Nintendo. We're not going to want to go back to those older games as much because now we're so, we're so spoiled. We're used to the 120 frame Mario Kart world. It's like, I want everything to look this good. Why do my old Switch games not look this good? And that's, I don't know. I've got some bad feelings about this whole Switch 2 edition thing in the future. I was so excited when they first announced it because I was like, yes. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, wait a minute. They haven't announced any more games that's getting this. We don't know how many games will get this. They haven't come out and said, hey, we plan to do the entire first-party back catalog. They haven't announced any future plans. They've been kind of radio silent, and I'm sure that they're waiting to kind of see how those sell before they start to do more and more and more. But I am concerned that, one of the major complaints that they had about the original Switch was that we're getting a lot of ports from the Wii U. So all of us that owned the Wii U were like, hey man, I love Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, but I've already got it on the Wii U. I'm worried that the controversial thing last gen was ports, and then this year is just going to be Switch 2 editions. It's like, the big heavy hitter at the end of this Nintendo Direct is not a brand new game that's coming out. It is, you're getting a Nintendo Switch edition, you're getting a Nintendo 2 Switch edition of Metroid Dread. And it's like, okay, are we getting like a new campaign or anything? It's like, no, it's just going to have better frame rate. It's going to run better. Maybe it can do mouse mode with the, when she points her arm cannon like up and down, maybe they'll do the mouse mode for that. And then maybe they'll do like a PvP or something. I don't know. Who knows, right? And it'll be something like that where it's like, that's kind of cool. And then you're like, yeah, but it's not great. I could totally see that coming. They're doing the great stuff first. And then that's the part that scares me, is that who knows what they're going to do for the future of the console. I just feel like this could potentially be a very controversial thing in the future. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they give us everything we've ever wanted and more, and this is just going to be like the icing on the cake of the console. We're going to get all this brand new stuff plus better versions of old titles. That sounds great to me. But this is Nintendo, and they do have a track record of doing some controversial stuff, things that we don't want them to do. It's like, hey, can you do this? And it's like, nah, we'll do that. It's like, okay, I guess. But anyway, we'll see. I'm going to try to stay optimistic, but I do have some concerns and some fears. Hopefully after the, we will probably know more after the first two Nintendo Switch Directs that are solely focused on the Switch 2, which, let me think here. If I were to predict when we're going to get our first Direct, a lot of people are saying we're supposed to get a Nintendo Direct like in June. And I was like, I don't think so. There's no way. Like, they're just gonna be pushing that console hard in June. They're just gonna be advertising that. I would say the soonest we get a Direct is late July, like after Donkey Kong Country Bonanza, or maybe right before Donkey Kong Bonanza. Cause yeah, I just don't see them. Nintendo usually just does one big thing a month. And for you to say they're gonna launch a console and do a Direct in the same month, even though they just gave us like 3 Nintendo Directs in like 4 weeks or something crazy. It's like, no, I think they're gonna slow down on, or no, they gave us 3 Nintendo Directs in like 2 weeks, right? Yeah, because it was the Switch 1 Direct, the Switch 2 Direct, and then the Mario Kart World Direct, which that was not even really a Direct. So they're kind of out of stuff to talk about, I think, for the time being. So they got to release the Switch 2, get Mario Kart World out there, get everyone's hands on, start selling these units like crazy. And then once we all start to like, get used to the Switch 2 and it's no longer brand new, that's when they got to drop the Switch 2 Directs on us and hit us with the new software and the new titles that are coming out. But anyway, that'll about do it for me for today. What do you think about the Switch 2 editions? Are you excited about them? Do you think they're just a gimmick to cash in on software that Nintendo's already created, so they don't have to, waste time and money doing new stuff? They can just sell us the old stuff. What are your thoughts on this? I am curious. I wish they would. They'll never tell us this, but it would be fascinating if they could tell us, this was the development team for Breath of the Wild. Like, this is how many people and how long it took. I want to know how long it took and how many people it took to do these Switch 2 upgrades. I'm curious how much manpower they're putting on that. Are they just like having like one guy do it in the basement somewhere? Or is this like, hey, we're going to take a sizable section of the Breath of the Wild team to work on this? I'm curious. I'd love to know what they'd say. My guess is it's not very many people because they're busy working on other stuff. But anyway, like I said, that'll about do it for me for today. Y'all take care of each other out there. Have a good one.